When Grandma passed away, she left behind a house that felt like a museum of her life. Every corner was filled with keepsakes, and each item told a story. But the most intriguing and unsettling part of her collection was the dolls. There they were, perched on the shelf in her old bedroom, their glass eyes unblinking and their delicate porcelain faces frozen in time. As a child, I remember sitting on the edge of her bed, feeling their gaze on me, as if they were silently judging my every move. One evening, not long after the funeral, I decided to spend the night in Grandma's house. It was a way to feel closer to her, I thought, to keep her presence alive in some way. The house, though familiar, felt different without her in it, emptier, colder. I walked through the dimly lit hallways, the creaking floorboards echoing in the stillness. Each room was filled with shadows, the kind that play tricks on your mind, making you see things that aren't there. As I entered Grandma's bedroom, the air seemed heavier, thick with the scent of lavender and old wood. The dolls were still there, lined up on the shelf, each one in the exact same position they had always been, but tonight, something about them felt different. Their eyes seemed to follow me more intensely, their expressions a bit more knowing, as if they held some secret I wasn't privy to. I tried to shake off the unease and settled into Grandma's bed, the sheets cool and crisp against my skin. The small lamp on the bedside table cast a warm, golden glow, but it didn't reach the corners of the room, leaving pockets of darkness where the dolls seemed to retreat into. As I lay there, staring up at the ceiling, I could feel their presence more than ever, a silent audience watching over me. The night dragged on, and sleep wouldn't come. Every sound in the house seemed amplified, the ticking of the clock, the rustle of the wind against the windows, the creaks and groans of the old structure settling. But then, beneath it all, I heard something else, a faint, almost imperceptible sound, like fabric rustling against fabric, or the soft patter of tiny feet. My heart began to race as I sat up in bed, my eyes scanning the room. At first, I saw nothing out of the ordinary, just the same old dolls, the same shadows. But then, out of the corner of my eye, I caught movement. One of the dolls, a small one with dark, curly hair and a green velvet dress, was shifting. Her head turned slowly, almost mechanically, until she was facing me. Her eyes, which had always seemed lifeless, now glinted with something I couldn't quite place awareness. I watched in stunned silence as the other dolls began to move as well. Their limbs, stiff and awkward, started to bend and flex as they climbed down from the shelf with unnerving precision. Their porcelain faces, once serene, now seemed animated with a subtle, unsettling energy. The tiny noises of their movements filled the room, creating a symphony of soft taps and creaks as they crossed the floor toward me. I wanted to scream, to bolt out of the room, but my body refused to cooperate. Fear had me pinned in place, my breath caught in my throat as I watched the dolls surround the bed. They moved with a strange coordination, their heads swiveling in unison to keep their gaze locked on me. I felt like I was caught in a nightmare, unable to wake up, unable to escape. The doll with the green velvet dress stepped forward, her tiny shoes making almost no sound on the wooden floor. She looked up at me with those unnervingly aware eyes and spoke in a voice that was soft, almost childlike, yet carried an eerie edge. "Why have you disturbed us?" she asked, her mouth barely moving, the words seeming to come from somewhere deep within her. I could hardly breathe, let alone speak. "I didn't mean to," I managed to whisper. I just wanted to feel close to Grandma." The doll tilted her head, as if considering my words. Her expression was unreadable, her glassy eyes reflecting the dim light. "We were hers," she said after a long pause. "Now we are free." At her words, the other dolls began to move again, their tiny hands and feet making soft, scraping sounds as they turned away from the bed. They formed a single file line and started to walk out of the room, their movements synchronized, almost like a procession. I watched them go, still paralyzed with fear and disbelief, my mind struggling to comprehend what I had just witnessed. As the last doll left the room, the air seemed to lighten, the oppressive atmosphere lifting as if a heavy curtain had been drawn back. I was left alone in the dim, silent room, the only evidence of what had happened being the faint echo of their footsteps fading into the distance. I never stayed in Grandma's house again after that night. The memory of those dolls, their lifeless eyes coming to life, haunted me for weeks, months even. Sometimes in the dead of night, I think I hear them again, the soft rustle of fabric, the patter of tiny feet. And I wonder, with a shiver down my spine, if somewhere out there, they are still walking, still searching, still free.